Howdy, folks. We are live with the Hats Hits IG special. I've got the Hats Hit hat. I'm not that pleasant or happy right now, given what just transpired in Cleveland on the diamond. Rooting very, very much against Edwards Yankees, that being Edward Young, my 757 Saturday Sports Talk partner, who is going to be just intolerable and make my life a living nightmare on Saturday. He's already bragging. This is what's wrong with Yankee fans. They're bragging about all the championships they've won, bragging about how they were going to win this in 4, 5, 6 at the very most, and they don't play at all fundamentally sound good baseball. We're going to talk some football, though, because I just got to get out of my system right now because I'm just frustrated. After John Kinsey, Noel, Big Christmas, tried to give all the Cleveland, used to be Indians, now Guardians fans, a Merry, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad. And then David Fry had the heroics. And then Noel, I thought it was going out in the 7th. I really did. And the Yanks, their fielding, their base running has just been atrocious. They out-hit everybody with this payroll that's triple what the Guardians is. So enough about that. Let's talk about some high school football because it was an exciting night across the landscape on the gridiron. And I said last week, or maybe the week before, about how the exciting games were all in Fredericksburg involving the Staffords, the North Staffords, the Brook Points. Well, there were some overtime games across the state. There was some exciting, spine-tingling action. Games that didn't end until after 10 o'clock on the East Coast. A 4 overtime game, a 3 overtime game. And both of them happened to be, by the way, in the 757. There was an overtime game, yes, in Northern Virginia. They didn't make my Hats Hits. They didn't make the cut. But I got to salute real quickly the Oakton Cougars. The Cougs, first district win in the Concord since 2017 as they beat South Lakes 48-47. I'm sure the Seahawks will be out for revenge come basketball season as they're defending Class 6 champs, but there were some great scores. And let's take them out of order because I got the 5 Hats Hits on my Twitter or X page at Hatfield Sports, which you can see after every Friday night week of games. And you're always encouraged to interact with me. You can comment through our IG, Instagram at Hatfield Sports 2K4, or on Twitter or X at Hatfield Sports. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube with Cova Sports TV. We're all over the place. And we're always generally all over the place here. As we move it closer and closer to Halloween here in the month of October, winds down and we move into November where it gets really cold. And I'll tell you what, I was at a game Thursday night at Powhatan Field in Norfolk, Granby, and Sharpston. And it was kind of neat to feel the cool chill in the air for some high school football action. It's starting to get colder. You get closer to December, and it gets chilly. Maybe get some snow at some point. You never know. But let's take them out of order. I mentioned the overtime seatbelt games. There was 2 in the 757 that were fascinating. You had in the Bay Rivers District at Smithfield High School, at Packerland, the slaughterhouse as they call it, Poquoson and Smithfield both have had injuries to quarterbacks, as we wrote on VirginiaPreps.com. We talked about this past week on our shows, and they didn't have the regular starters there. And you would wonder if this would be just kind of a meat grinder type of game. Well, it was 7-7 going into the 4th, and it finished up 34-31. The Bull Islanders go on the road despite the injuries to their first and second string. I think they were down to 3rd-string quarterback, and they get the job done. Kicking game mattered. The field position mattered. They came through, and look, defense bent but never broke, and to hold Smithfield to a field goal in that extra OT session, so mighty, mighty important for them as they've had a number of different guys step up all year long, whether it be Carter Jones in the trenches, Christian Leonard. They had some pick sixes against Tab a few weeks ago. They're 7-0 for the first time are the Bull Islanders since 1978. That's an awful long time. You're talking 1978. You got to go back to when Poquoson was, they were playing a schedule that was not what they're playing right now in the Bay Rivers District. That was just a way back machine as far as the teams they were playing then. And it's mighty good for them, mighty good for them. And they were the only team. Smithfield loses that game. It's their second loss here. The other one was to Lafayette by a wide margin earlier in the year. And that was, by the way, when Olin Evans was coaching the Poquoson Bull Islanders. They lost in the second round of the playoffs back in 78 to Southampton. Salem and Virginia Beach, they get themselves a nice win in triple overtime over Ocean Lakes, 40-33. And I'm sure the stats and how they perform wasn't to their liking, and they're in Region 5A where they still got to contend with Green Run and Cox, who they'll see next week coming up, and Indian River, who's now on a skid now with 3 straight losses. They lose to Nansemond River tonight, and again, it was almost destined to go to overtime. It was close throughout. But those type of wins for Poquoson on the road, Salem having to go beyond the 48 minutes regulation and go into multiple overtime sessions, they can build some character. They can show some resolve. So I'm curious to see how those teams do as they move closer to the playoffs here. Poquoson is the favorite in Region 2A. Salem's not the favorite in Region 5A, but they have a lot of talent, next level talent on that team, from the quarterback to the running back who's leading the area in rushing and Willie Moore, to the wide receiver who's a youngster in Kassir Patterson. Fabian Wells has already committed to the next level. You got Jalen Gilchrist going to the next levels in offensive line. They have a lot of talent on that team. So they have regrouped from the loss to Green Run. They didn't want to suffer a second loss knowing it could cost them in terms of playoff seeding. They got it done tonight. Very, very good win for them. Getting it done over Ocean Lakes. Another Hats hit point that we had for all of you out there was the second one I'll get to here was Class 3. Allegheny, mighty good win for them. 34-7 over Glenver. I've been gushing about Glenver and its quarterback and Brody Doyot. Now it's time for me to gush about the junior quarterback for Allegheny and Desmond Jordan. Des Jordan led an 18-play drive tonight, folks. He completed 83.3% of his passes in the first half. And coming into this game, he was completing, I think, well over 70% of his passes for the season. And I guarantee you, half of the audience out there, unless you live out there, could not tell you the nickname for the Allegheny High School football team out in Covington, Virginia. Can you do it? First one to do it wins a prize. Anybody out there? Anybody out there? Look it up. Google it. No idea. People don't know. The Cougars of Allegheny. How about the Cougars? We talked about the Cougars at Oakton. The Cougars of Allegheny. Will Fields, a tip of the cap to you. 7-0 is your team after beating Glenver. And Jordan had 4 touchdown passes, 2 through the air, 2 on the ground, including a key 4th down. And they're in Region 3C. They have announced their presence in Region 3C as a team to watch out for. And I say that knowing that Liberty Christian, the defending state champ, still very much is the favorite in Region 3C and Class 3 across the board. I'm not changing that. I'm not overreacting to that or being prisoner of the moment. But what I will tell you now is Allegheny getting this win, to me, as I said, announcing their presence, where you have Turner Ashby's very good, Heritage of Lynchburg. You have a number of teams that have been factors beyond LCA, the reigning state champ. And in that region where they were a 4 seed last year and lost to Rustburg, a 5 seed in the first round of the playoffs, and Rustburg also come out of that Seminole district with LCA and Heritage and Jefferson Forest and EC Glass, really tough district in the Lynchburg area. Allegheny's a team that is thinking beyond making the playoffs as far as advancing past the first round. Jerry said the second round and possibly playing for a region championship come November. So this was an eye-raising win for them, not just beating Glenver, but doing so by the margin they did. Sometimes winning isn't enough. It's winning by a wide margin, which we know the Hayfields and the Morys and the Phoebuses of the world are doing week in and week out as the favorites across the board in Class 6 through 3, or I should say Class 6 through 4. Throw in LCA, Liberty Christian in Class 3, and there you have it. Another team that didn't make my hats hits, I want to actually hit on 2, though. Didn't make my hats hits real quick because it makes me think of it. Graham G-Men. They had to battle back and dig it out of the mud tonight, 27-14 out there in Southwest Virginia against Lebanon. Lebanon was unbeaten coming in, just like that showdown with Allegheny and Glenver. Appreciate you, my man. Sparks for Christ out there. Tim Sparks, the hoops coach at Peninsula Catholic. Shout out to you watching out there. But no, listen. Graham had 11 sacks on defense. You're down at halftime 7-0. You're down 14-7 in the third quarter. Sometimes you got to depend on a unit or a certain area of your attack to get it done. And their pass rush came through against a really good quarterback in Michael Reese of Lebanon. So kudos to Graham. They just missed the cut for the hats hits tonight. Let's go back to the other hats hit we're going to. So we talked about Tidewater teams getting some close wins with Poquoson and with Salem and with Nansemond River beating Indian River in a close one. Braves have now dropped 3 in a row. What's up, Travis Johnson out there watching? Shout out to you. It's not past your bedtime. Big time receiver for the Tigers. I'm looking forward to you guys next week. Tigers and Bulldogs, SED. We'll be talking about that tomorrow morning, or I should say Saturday morning from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Cova Sports TV when I can get Ed Young, my co-host, who's up in Pennsylvania right now, probably getting in trouble to shut up about his Yankees. Good to see you too, Coach Moore, out there, my man who used to coach some hoops there at KHS Kempsville. Thank you for tuning in. But so we talked about Poquoson and the close wins. We talked about Allegheny opening my eyes. I'm going to get to one also I just missed out here in a moment. But Class 6, let's go to where Travis Johnson and the Tigers are. We know the favorites in Class 6 in our rankings all year long have been Hayfield up in Northern Virginia, Oscar Smith from Tidewater, boatload of quality underclassmen, and that stout defense we talked about last week. The team that I told some people back in August, and then I sort of lifted back on it, that I thought had a chance to be a sneaky sleeper to win the state championship because they've been good, although they get to the state playoffs and they generally don't quite perform or deep in regional playoffs to where those other teams are as far as the elite teams. Battlefield. And I don't say that because their coach is Greg Hatfield, who I swear to you on a stack of Bibles that are back there, he's not related to me, Coach Hatfield. But I will tell you, Battlefield was a team that I was high on because they got Cole Woodson, who's going to Pitt on defense. They've won coming into this year 33 straight regular season games. Hey, you're laughing over there, Coach Moore. 33 straight games, regular season. And they're just a well-oiled machine. They do what they do well. They're not flashy. They're not fancy, but they get the job done. They have depth at a lot of positions that matter. The knowledge king, that's you, Coach Barrett. Coach Barrett was breaking down baseball to me via text, by the way, out there, folks, telling me about change-ups and all kinds of things as I'm shouting things I can't repeat at the TV because the Guardians can't beat Ed's Yankees, making me so upset. But back to the Bobcats here of Battlefield High School. they not only have Cole Woodson, they beat Gainesville tonight, one of their district rivals, who's on the come up, on the rise, 29-6. Gainesville had a tough battle last week with Patriot, who dispatched them, but Gainesville, 5-1 team, been in the top 10 all year. And Battlefield now, okay, they're not viewed at that level to some with Hayfield and with Oscar Smith and dare we say Madison, who's been to 4 straight, I think, at a state playoffs out of Region 6D. But with Cole Woodson going to Pitt and Cameron Binkowski, the edge rusher, going to Army, and again, depth at running back, the offensive and defensive lines, don't ignore them. They're in our top 5 for a reason in Class 6 on Virginia Preps. We have them behind Hayfield, Oscar Smith, and Madison. But at number 4 in the state, they're legit. And they're a team that has a chance because their defense is giving up just 5 points per game. Defense wins championships. And if their offense plays mistake-free, efficient football, people out there might be shocked that they're in a 14-7 game in the state semis with somebody and having a chance to play for the title at JMU. I'm not going to be shocked. I got off them in August because I heard the result with their scrimmage with Dinwiddie, but scrimmages and exhibitions, just like we're finding out with basketball this time of year in college hoops, sometimes can be misleading. Sometimes they're not, but they can be misleading. And I think I overreacted to what that scrimmage was with Dinwiddie. I didn't drop them far in our preseason top 10 because we had them to start the year in Class 6 at number 5 behind Madison, Oscar Smith, Highland Springs, and Hayfield. But Battlefield's showing me quietly going about their business, and they don't care about the fanfare and the love and the bouquet of flowers. I'm throwing them a bouquet of flowers, though, right now. It'll be delivered to Greg Hatfield. No relation. 18 straight change-ups is insane, Coach Barrett, and Maury did not score 100 points tonight. The Maury Commodores, for those that are wondering, had 68 at halftime against the Bookers of Booker T. Washington. They finished up with 82. Both of those second-half touchdowns with the running clock scored by sophomore tailback Tayshawn Branch. And this comes after their 97-point thrashing of Manor last week. So they are averaging this year, are the Commodores now, 56.4 points per game. Hey, shout out to Salem coach Mark Hall, who's watching. You got to go back and watch the replay on Cova Sports TV because I gave you and your guys some love, some shout-out for your triple overtime win over Ocean Lakes. And I wish your game was not on the same night as Smith Kings Fork because I would go see you guys in Cox next week. Nonetheless, maybe we'll get you on our podcast this week. Anyhow, let's go back to our other topics. We've been hitting on the Hats hits here. We talk about Battlefield's defense. We talk about the 7-5-7 teams winning the overtime games like Poquoson and Salem. Allegheny, which again, half the people out there have no idea where Allegheny is. They don't know what the nickname is. That's all right. They're moving up in Class 3. I've got 1 or 2 more for you, I think. I'm trying to remember what my other Hats hits were. I think I've got, Kettle Run. The Cougars. This is a Cougar night. We talked about the Allegheny Cougars, the Oakton Cougars, and the Kettle Run Cougars from Nokesville, coached by Charlie Porterfield. They win it 44-20 over Sharando, who was 7-0, 6-0 or 7-0, I forget. Anyhow, undefeated in Class 4, beating people by wide margins, and all they did was watch their quarterback Jake Mulhern throw for 4 TD passes. Colton Quaker, I call him the Quake Shake. When he runs, the ground shakes. He is the Quake Shake. I've been talking about them for a while now. Who have been talking about for a while now? The Cougars? Which Cougars? A lot of Cougars. Allegheny, Kettle Run, Oakton. Kettle Run, though, in Class 3, They are capable of winning the state championship. And I've been talking about Liberty Christian all year long. 2 and 3 have been Thomas Jefferson of Richmond and Lafayette. I'm not changing those rankings, but winning this by that type of a margin against Sharando, all right. Yeah, I'm glad you're paying attention. I've been talking about Kettle Run. They need more love right now. They've scored 30-plus points every time. And I talked about defense winning championships. If your offense can move the ball and score like that, you can win championships too. It's another way you can win championships. We got a comment on, hey, my man Mike Privet, Demore DC. We got to get you on the show. Although if we get you on the show, there's no telling what you're going to say. Best in VA. It's nice that you say that. Hey, listen, your defense right now, it's balling out, getting shutouts. I know that offense that Coach McCain and company got rolling, it's mighty, mighty good too. That's the best in VA, in my opinion. I'm going to make Hayford or else mad with Torrey Newkirk and all his weapons, LeBron Bond and Kendall Daniels and a list of studs on the offensive side of the ball. But that defense is balling out too. And that defensive line, people better watch out for it come playoff time. We got Bill Ward, coach from Poquoson, chiming in on Facebook as well. He says Poquoson wins in 4 OTs. We just talked about it. Go back and watch on Rewind, Bill. You guys are gutty and gritty, finding a way. It was 7-7 going into the fourth, and I wish I was at that game. I actually pulled up the feed on NFHS, and I was getting text updates from my guy Pat Doolin, the AD at Smithfield. I have to go back and watch chunks of that game. The one thing, and I love NFHS Network. I don't want people out there watching this to think I'm bashing it. It's harder for me to watch the game and stat track it and blog it like I generally do with a lot of games if the score bug isn't working. Now, I don't want the VHSL folks that watch this later to get on me saying I'm back. Loving FHS. I love doing your broadcast for the championships. This is just a little friendly encouragement to the administrators out there. If you have your clocks working with the score bug, it's not just more helpful for me, but also for and Timmons, you're calling me Timmons. You should be watching the show. Don't call me Timmons. I'm doing the show right now. Don't call me. People out there know what I'm talking about. Timmons Photography, as we call them. No, get the score bugs work so then I can put out the updates and I can watch it and kind of see what down. Because for football, I wish they had 4 cameras. You could have one on each side. Ed Young has been ducking all the smoke. He's going to be trying to give me smoke tomorrow with his stupid Bronx Bombers. But that's one thing I would say. I just want that. Hey, another Hats hit I think I left out as we're winding down this 25 to 30 minute, if I can go that long edition. We talked about Battlefield. We talked about Allegheny. I have a couple college football thoughts for tomorrow. We talked about Poquoson and Salem's wins, Kettle Run. Oh, I left one out. Lord Botetourt. And he's what he's calling about too. He's wearing his, even though he claims he's a Mets fan, Lamar, he's a Dodger. He's got his Dodger footy pajamas on right now, which is bugs the stuff out of me. If we get a Dodgers-Yankees World Series, folks, do you know how miserable I will be? I will be so miserable. Somebody's got to come from 3-1 down to win. Now, the Mets got 1 win down. They got to go win 2 in L.A. I'm not sure the Guardians can win 2 at Yankee Stadium, but somebody's got to do it. And I'd prefer it be Cleveland because the Mets have had their little magical run, and they've gotten a little annoying at times too. And they've just been smoked in these games. The Guardians have been a lot closer in these games. They've kind of beat themselves with self-inflicted mistakes. But the last Hats hit real quick here. Before I give you some idle thoughts and take any questions or comments some of you out there have on Facebook or IG or Twitter, X, YouTube, on Cova Sports TV. Lord Botetourt in Class 3. I've been talking about these Class 3 teams. They started out the season, they lost on a field goal in overtime, I think it was, to EC Glass, who's been just a thorn in their side on their out-of-district schedule. And they've been snaked with injuries in the past. Jamie Harless, these guys, that muscle milk, they have those guys in the trenches. And they're not the fastest of kids in the state, but they're strong, they're sturdy, and they're physical. And they've been one of the better programs in VA not to win a state championship. They've lost in a couple of title games, one to Lafayette the COVID year, one to Magna Vista, I think it was. Yeah, Magna Vista. They've been very close. And this team doesn't have maybe the signature marquee next-level recruits, but they've recovered by being physical line of scrimmage. That's where football games are won. The line of scrimmage, offensive and defensive lines. And if you play Lord Botetourt, you better be ready to strap it up on the line. You better be ready to strap. Now, I'll tell you this. They have their work cut out for them next week with William Fleming because William Fleming has been smashing people with speed. And they got a kid going to Syracuse, Malachi Coleman, running the ball. Thank you, Ballin' VA Podcast out 804. Lee Mary watching. Appreciate you tuning in. We got to connect, get you on our show or get on your show. Something we got to figure out sometime soon. But listen, Lord Botetourt, that's a good win for them. Now, if they can go follow this up and hang with Fleming. Even if they don't beat Fleming, hang with them for 4 quarters and keep it a one-score game and have a chance at the end. Then they're showing me they're not only ready to win Region 3D, which I think they have a chance, but furthermore, Laura Botetourt can be a Final Four, maybe dare we say Final 2 team come December. Oh, God, look who's chiming in on Facebook. Go away. It's past your bedtime. Go to sleep. Ugh. Look at this, folks. He's got it on well, if you're watching on IG, you can't see it. Ed Young's chiming in. Yankees are the best. Yankees. Your fielding and base running was terrible. Just go away, Ed. I got to deal with you on Saturday morning. Oh. See, this is these braggadocious, annoying Yankee fans. No humility, no grace, none of that. None of that. Young and Whittington get on my nerves, both of them. Yankee fans that just gush and gush and gush. Coach Priv, if you're out there still watching, you know what I'm talking about Whittington. He's a Yankee fan who just yak about the Yankees. Yak. Yak. 2001, we darn sure did. 2001, Ed, I can send you that DVD. I've got it somewhere in one of these drawers over here. I can send you the clips. 9th inning. Luis Gonzalez. It's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Ed Pugh. Yankee fans over Alabama fans. Hey, don't mess with my man Willie, though. Willie is the bomb. Willie is the man. If you haven't seen Willie, Google Willie the Alabama fan on Twitter or X. Willie don't give a pee about nothing but the Tide. He is great. Love me some Willie. And listen, they can be they can be obnoxious too. Cowboys fans have been pretty quiet lately because they've been getting taken behind the woodshed by the Detroit Lions. How is Fluvanna, Heritage, Patrick Henry, Harrisonburg, Radford? That's a lot of questions in one. Well, since we're short on time, the Flying Flukos are not having a great year. Heritage, you have to specify which Heritage you're talking about. You have Heritage of Newport News. You have Heritage of Leesburg. You have Heritage of Lynchburg. In terms of football, Heritage of Lynchburg is the best of the bunch. Bradley's Pioneers have played for a couple of state championships and beat Phoebus in one. Was that 6 years ago? 5-6 years ago? I was there at Liberty when that happened. Yes, that was and they were good. Radford, defending state champs, graduated a whole lot. They'll be back, but this is not their time. They had a little of a battle for tonight for a couple of quarters. Harrisonburg, not doing all that well. Not doing all that well. Oh, look at Ed. If you live in the past, you'll never progress to the future. Someone said that last week. You're a really good copycat. Really good copycat. Jay Taylor, big Yankee fan. There's a lot of Yankee fans out there, and all of you are annoying right now. I hope you get your hearts broken like you did on Thursday night. And John Kenton Noel was so close to doing it. Big Christmas. I thought when that got hit off the bat, it was out. I thought it was out. Hey, some couple quick idle thoughts. Someone has to explain to me, and there are people out there maybe smarter than me or more insightful than me on college football. I heard when the line, not that I care about the line, but when the line was put out for Georgia, Texas, that it was 3 to 3.5, may have been 2 to 2.5 to 3. And I think I heard today, I haven't looked, have not checked, so please forgive me if I'm giving out bad information or fake news here. Someone today was like 5.5 to 6 now. What in the world? How in the world did Texas go from basically a field goal favorite to double that against Georgia, who I know defensively has had its problems lately against both Mississippi State last week and giving up 30+ in Alabama before that. But Texas, they beat an Oklahoma team that's not Oklahoma teams of past, and they were not impressive in the first half of that game. And to me, that's a lot of points. I think Georgia can win that game. I really do. And I'm telling you, I said this to somebody last week, I think they're making a mistake with Quinn Ewers as opposed to Arch Manning. They're going to give Ewers the benefit of the doubt. I think they're making a mistake. I think they are. Duke beat Florida State tonight. I should say Friday night, college football. What a win that is for Duke. This has been a really, really rotten year for FSU. And the ACC, certainly the big news this week on the ACC side of things was on the basketball side of things, which we'll talk about on Saturday on the pod with Jeff Jones is going to join us, former UVA standout player, took them to the Final Four, helped take them to the Final Four as a player with a guy named Ralph Sampson. Then he turned into a UVA coach, and he took them to Elite Eight as a coach. Former ODU men's basketball coach is going to join us to talk about Tony Bennett, his retirement as the UVA men's basketball coach, and what he's up to nowadays because he's retired as well. And Ed says it is 5.5. Early money was on Texas. I'm surprised it's that much. But so we'll be joined by him. We'll have some clips for you as well on the show. What's Ed Pugh saying here? Money coming in hard on Texas. Texas has faced a QB like Beck. I might be biased, though. See, that's what I think. I don't know that Texas's defense, again, some of these Big 12 teams now in the SEC, is going to be able to just stop Georgia completely. I know Georgia doesn't have Brock Bowers anymore at tight end. He's playing for the Raiders, Ed's Raiders, but man, oh man. Roll Tide. I don't give a blank about nothing but the Tide, my man Willie out there. Look, I think that game is going to go down the wire. I think last play, last kick, I'm not as sold on Texas as everybody else is. And they've had some injuries at running back throughout the, before the season even started. So this is going to be a physical game. Texas is going to have to strap it up, as will Georgia. I'm not as convinced, like a lot of people are, that Texas is just going to win this by 2 touchdowns. Some people are saying, I'm like, really? I don't see it. I do not see it. They are hard to watch. Just like it is hard to watch a Yankees-Dodgers World Series. Ugh, that would be so bad. Colorado versus Arizona. You want me to break that down? Well, Colorado lost. I fell asleep last week. I did not watch the game with Kansas State. But this is, to me, that was my last thing I was going to get out with here before I bid adieu. Heisman Trophy moment. Certainly, Travis Hunter's been talked about it. They were talking about Shedeur Sanders at one point. They were talking about Jalen Milroe until Alabama fell down. And I'll get to you, Brian Tyson. Michigan versus Illinois. Michigan on their third quarterback, by the way. I think Illinois, though, was very fortunate. Look at that in a second here. Hold on. But the Heisman talk. Obviously, Cam Ward at Miami was the guy. The guy people need to pay attention to. The problem is his schedule and who he's playing the rest of the way and being on the West Coast late at night. Nobody sees him. The best player in college football. I know Travis Hunter goes both ways. I'm taking nothing from Travis Hunter, who can be a fabulous pro, who is as good a college football player going both ways as we've seen since the days of Charles Woodson and Champ Bailey. But if you want to see a guy who runs with a vengeance at tailback, and if he played for Georgia or Michigan or Ohio State or Alabama or Texas, we've been talking about him, is the young man for Boise State. Put on his highlight clip. Ashton Jeanty. Oh my gosh, is this kid good. Ashton Jeanty is something special, folks. I don't know what kind of pro back he'll be. He might not be much of a pro at all. But right now in college football, if you get a chance to stay up and watch Boise State play, now they're playing the Utah States and the Nevadas of the world, the Hawaiis, which I used to love watching Hawaii when they had Colt Brennan, rest in peace. But, man, oh, man. To your question, LB, on Deion and Colorado against Arizona, I do think Colorado has made some strides defensively. Arizona likes to sling it around. They can also run it a bit. I don't know that Arizona's going to take this one. I think Colorado's going to find a way to sneak it out. I do. Colorado, if they keep the pocket clean for Shedeur, I think there will be big plays. Now, if Noah Fafita gets going for Arizona, this could be a track meet type of game, but I think they do. Michigan, Illinois, your other question there, Brian, out there watching. We thank you for checking in. And look, I saw Illinois last week. They were up big and very fortunate to win. They actually had 2 onside kicks recovered against them in their game. You don't see hardly one in a game. I said that last week versus Kansas State. I did say that. I did, and Kansas State pulled it out. I thought Colorado was going to win. Maybe it's the rooting against Deion. That's why I'm hoping he loses. I'm not as – people know I'm an Arizona guy, D-backs and Cardinals. I'm not all that, impressed with Arizona. Let me put it that way, on both sides of the ball. But Illinois, they won 50-49 against Purdue. You give up 49 points to Purdue. This isn't greasy Purdue. This isn't Breeze Purdue. This is some kid named Brown, Ryan Brown Purdue. And I know Luke Altmaier's had a really good year at quarterback for them, and Brett Bielema's got Illinois rocking and rolling. But Illinois was fortunate to win. When sometimes you squeak by in a game like that, bites you the next week. And Michigan's at a breaking point here. Whether they're on their third quarterback or not, they better get a big win. And I think they do get it done. So I would give the slight lean to Michigan, and I'm giving the slight lean to Colorado over Arizona. Don't have a lot of faith in any of those 4 teams, though. None of those 4 are playoff teams as far as the college football playoff. But if Boise wins out, they win the Mountain West Championship, probably got to beat UNLV a couple times. If they win out with 1 loss to Oregon, they better get in that 12-team playoff because I want to see Ashton Genty run the ball as like a 12 seed with Boise playing somebody or an 11 seed playing one of those powers in the Big Ten or SEC and see if they can stop that guy because he ran for almost 200 yards against Oregon, if I recall. He's really fun to watch, and he's good. He's really good. Thank you all for tuning in. We're about to sign off here. Oh, look at Ed Young sabotaging this. Yankees, Mets. Everyone wants a Subway Series. No, everybody's not want a Subway Series, Ed. No, everyone is not you and your 5 friends that are all Yankee fans. No. They don't want that. They want Cleveland to rally beginning. Do they get an at-large or a Group 5 spot? Talking about Boise? I think Boise will probably get the Group 5 spot. I do. Because I tell you what's going to be fascinating. We'll talk about this on Saturday, 757 Saturday Sports Talk, Cova Sports TV coming up. If we have time this Saturday, if not, following Saturday, because we'll get someone on about this from Army or Navy. How about if Army and Navy can beat Ed's beloved Notre Dame Fighting Irish, and they're both unbeaten at the end of the year? Here's 2 things about this. One, they'll play each other in the AAC championship, and then they'll play the Army-Navy game the next week, which is like December 14th weekend. They should just get rid of the championship game conference. The other thing is, I think, I could be wrong about this, I think the college football selection show now for the playoff, because it's 12 teams, not 4, I think they announced those teams before the second, if there's 2 meetings, Army-Navy meeting. So how crazy is that? You could have an Army or Navy with 1 loss or no losses get in the playoff, get smoked by 41-7 the next week, and still go. That's wild. I didn't realize that. Someone told me the other day. I got to double check that. I don't want to be putting that out, but I got to double check that. That is something else. Thank you all for tuning in with the questions and interaction. We'll do it again on Cova Sports TV on YouTube. We'll also have it on IG and Twitter and X and all the different platforms for you. 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. Eastern, and we'll talk to you again then. Au revoir. Adios.